I am saying this to you because I love you. Stop looking for your twin flame. Stop looking for your twin flame. Now, why would I say that? I'm not saying it to be sassy, not saying it to be condescending, not saying it to be funny. I'm saying it because I am genuinely concerned about certain people that have come to me for readings claiming that they have found their twin flame, but really what they are in is in an extremely toxic relationships. Now, whether or not twin flames are a real thing is not something I want to get into in this video. I do believe that twin flames, if they exist, are extremely rare, and I also believe that they are enormously misunderstood. When you look at the history of twin flames, it is not even close to what mainstream New Age and mainstream spirituality tells us the twin flames are. Now, if you'd like me to do a video on the origin of twin flames and what I believe them to really be, put a comment down below, let me know. Just put down origin of twin flames or where did twin flames come from, and that'll clue me in that you want to know more about that topic. But when I did my research on twin flames, I found that it is vastly different from what most people believe them to be. Now, the mainstream spiritual belief on twin flames is that a twin flame is essentially one soul in two separate bodies. So the belief basically says that you can't feel whole and you can't have a happy relationship until you find this twin flame. Let's talk about why that's toxic. So many people have come to me claiming that they found their twin flame and they refuse to leave their twin flame even though their twin flame is incredibly toxic. So their twin flame is manipulative, deceitful, coercive, so basically wanting the other person to do things they don't necessarily want to do, and this can be covered on a variety of toxics. So they may talk someone into buying something that they don't want to buy, so making a big purchase. They can talk them into physical acts that the other person doesn't necessarily want to do. The list goes on and on. The twin flame can also be completely self-absorbed. It's just not a good thing. And what's actually happening here is something known as a trauma bond. So it is when you are bonded with someone because of all the trauma that you've been through with them. And the trauma can be very up and down. So there's this addiction that you may have to the drama and trauma that this person is creating in you. And if you also are an HSP, empath, or if you're psychic and you tend to take on the energy of other people, well, then now you're in a whole new series of hell because you're feeling responsible for your twin flame for that other person. And maybe you are trying to help that person to redeem themselves, or you're playing savior. You're trying to help them on a spiritual path. You're trying to get them to see the error of their ways, and they don't want to see the error of their ways. Guess what? They're totally okay with how everything is. And if you telling yourself that this person is your twin flame, or if them telling you that they are your twin flame helps them to keep you trapped and allows them to continue to siphon whatever it is that they need off of you, leaving you to feel depleted and defeated and horrible, they're fine with that. Dude, they are so okay with that. And you need to not be okay with that. Here's what I believe about twin flames. If they truly exist, if twin flames are a real thing, if the other part of your soul is out there in someone else, that part of your soul doesn't want to hurt you. That part of your soul is going to have the same core beliefs, the same interests, the same values that you do. That other part of your soul is going to be infinitely compassionate and empathetic to your experience because guess what? The soul is endless and boundless. And you can't really separate your soul. You can't separate your soul from itself. That's why I have a hard time with the twin flame theologies and beliefs. The soul can connect to anything, and the soul is connected to everything all at once while maintaining its individuality. I know, it's kind of a mouthful, but that's my understanding of how this works. So the reason that it is not healthy to go looking for your twin flame is that you may not necessarily know what it looks like. And then also you may prescribe the title of twin flame to someone who doesn't deserve it. I see this happen a lot where people meet someone and they're head over heels right away. There's issues there. They really want to make it work. They feel this deep and profound connection that they can't explain, that they've never experienced before. And so, this must be my twin flame because I feel so alive with this person. Like I've never felt this level of intimacy with this person before. Doesn't necessarily mean that that's your twin flame. It could simply mean that there's something about that person that's very familiar. As you start to know that person more, you may notice that they have some traits, whether healthy or unhealthy, that remind you of some old family dynamics. Could remind you of your mom, your dad, your cousin, your brother from another mother. There's this wide range of different sensations and feelings that can come up when someone feels familiar to us. And when we first meet someone and we're first excited about them, we may not notice their habitual patterns right away, and we may not notice how they're actually poking and agitating at an old childhood wound or an old childhood experience that we want to experience again. And that can happen when it was a fun experience, right? But that person might not be healthy and may not be a good match, but because they elicit these feelings of excitement in us and they make us feel alive, we start to think, oh my gosh, that person's wonderful. Well, just because they had a profound physiological effect on you doesn't mean they're a good person. It means that maybe they put off some good pheromones, maybe they told a great joke, maybe you had some synchronistic events with them. And check out my video on synchronicities if you haven't already, because they don't always mean what you think they mean. So be sure you check that out. So it's really important that you get to really know someone before you decide that you think it's a twin flame or not. And let me say this again, I don't believe that a twin flame relationship is going to be one that is tumultuous. I don't believe that at all. And I think for most of you, if you were to sit with that feeling for a while, I think you would realize something's off with that too. So I don't believe that the soul is split into light and dark is so that it can come together and the two of you can agitate the hell out of each other. Because the soul at its core is light. It is love. It doesn't have that darkness and lightness to it. Most souls are pure light, and then there are souls that are not light, and that's a topic for another time. But your soul is always whole. It can't be split in two. You can live parallel lives, but even with that, your soul is not split in two. Make sense? No? Okay, good. I know, this is confusing. So let's talk about why you shouldn't look for your twin flame. Why am I telling you not to look at this, not to look for this? Again, even if twin flames are real, I want you to be in a relationship where you are safe, secure, respected, and you know that the person you're in a relationship with has your back. That is what you deserve. You do not deserve anything less. And guess what? I believe that's what your soul wants. I believe that is what a true twin flame relationship would look like anyway. So the problem with looking for a twin flame as opposed to just looking for someone who's fun and compatible and respects you and loves you for your sweet, wonderful, dear little self is that in a twin flame relationship, you might be willing to put up with a lot of BS, and I mean a lot of BS. And if that person has you convinced that they're your twin flame, and maybe they're throwing around that title, or you're convinced that they're your twin flame, again, you're probably going to stay in that a lot longer than you should, and you're just going to feel depleted and defeated, and it's going to be awful. Even if a twin flame does exist, go look for someone who respects you. Go look for someone who loves you. Go look for someone fun. And if you're like, Nicole, I've tried that. Like I had someone in my life who really enjoyed me, who loved me, but they were kind of boring or they weren't a lot of fun or whatever the case is. Cool. That just means that that person had some wonderful characteristics, but they weren't for you. That's fine. You're not going to be compatible with everyone who's good. You're not going to be compatible with everyone who respects you or loves you. And sadly, that's just the way it is. Now, if you have some deep emotional wounds from childhood or even from adulthood that you need to work with, then work through them. There are plenty of books out there that can help you to learn more about yourself and dive into your sense of Well-worth, your worth and your well-being. I almost said well-birth. And well-being. And of course, there's therapists, there are counselors, there are dynamic confidence seminars and webinars that you can be a part of that will help you to be so secure in yourself that you don't fall prey to predatory dating and predatory relationships where someone is preying on you. And so when you make a list of what your core values are, of how you expect to be treated and how you definitely need to be treated, and you focus on that, then you are going to be less likely to put up with anything less. You're going to learn to speak up for yourself more. You're going to allow yourself to establish boundaries that you stick to. And if you're an HSP or empath or people pleaser, guilty, it's going to be hard for you. This is a lesson. Being able to put up boundaries and tell someone, no, I don't agree with that, or no, you're wrong, or this makes me feel icky, or whatever it is, can be really difficult. Let's be honest about it. So we kind of have to practice that. But the practice becomes easier when we believe in ourselves and when we have a high level of self-confidence. And confidence really just means that you trust yourself, that you have faith in you, that you know what you want, you know what you deserve, and you're not going to settle for anything less. So if you take those ideas into the world of dating, into the world of relationships, even into the world of friendships, that's really going to change the dynamic, because boundaries and high confidence and a high level of self-worth are going to protect you from getting too close to people who don't treat you well. And there might be some people in your friend circle or in your acquaintanceship circle that are a lot of fun, but you wouldn't tell your secrets to. And that's fine. You can have acquaintances that are there just for fun. That's totally fine. But you don't want to date them. You don't want to date someone toxic, right? You don't want to bring untrustworthy people into your inner circle. They can stay on the outside. You can shower them with all the love and light that you want, but don't bring them in and try to make them something that they're not. Right? And we see this happen all the time with people who believe in redemption, and they believe that everyone has good in them, even when they haven't seen the good, or they're very naive and believe everything that they're told and believe everything that they see. And the problem with that is that narcissists and sociopaths and psychopaths are love bombers. They know how to present themselves very well. They know how to gaslight us. They know how to make promises that they don't intend to keep. It's really a horrible experience. And so we need to be able to take a step back from people when they are showing up like this beautiful, brilliant light. And we need to just make sure that their walk matches their talk. We need to make sure that they are the trustworthy persons that they are pretending to be. Because that's not always the case. And that's really sad, right? It's really sad that we have to be on alert like that. And if you're an HSP or empath or psychic, then you already know when something's off with someone. But if you're like me, you don't always want to believe it, because in your core, you want to believe the best in people. You want to see the best in them, right? You want to encourage the best in them. But the truth is, some people aren't about that. They'll pretend that they are for a while, but they can only keep up with that act for so long. Then the facade and the mask begins to fade, and you're left with who they really are. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them and don't waste any more time with them. Don't try to rescue them. They don't want to be rescued. They want your attention. Oh, man, do they. They want your attention. They want your resources. They want your love. They want your affection. They want all of that. But you know what they don't want? They don't want to change. Even if they say they do. They don't want to change. Because if they wanted it, they'd be going after it. And if they really wanted you to be happy, they would be putting more effort into that. Someone who believes in more balanced relationships isn't going to spend all their time taking from you. They're going to take some from you and they're going to give something back. They're not going to give you crumbs and pretend it's some grand gesture. I think a lot of us have been there, and it's really humiliating. right? When I've gotten out of those type of relationships, I felt discouraged and I felt shame. I felt embarrassed that I ever even fell for that. And while I'm not exactly a believer in twin flames, I do believe in soulmates, and I do believe that soulmate relationships can exist on a romantic level where they can be very fulfilling. And so when I was looking for those companionships, it was always very devastating to me when those fell apart, right? My concern is that I don't want you going out looking for a twin flame, telling yourself that, oh, once I find the other part of myself, I'll be whole. Like, I just need to find this one person. Because if you find that one person that you believe is your twin flame and it doesn't work out and the relationship falls apart, which happens in a lot of twin flame relationships, or at least what people title twin flame relationships, I don't know if that's a wound that is easy to get over. I'm going through a heartbreak and separation myself right now as I make this video. I never thought that person was my twin flame, but I thought he was a genuine soulmate, a healthy one. And, you know, it's really frustrating enough to be going through that type of a breakout without thinking to myself, that was my twin flame. I'm never going to find the other part of my soul, like this was it. If this didn't work, then that was the end of it. And that's the mentality that takes place in the fallout of these twin flame relationships, is the person who's highly intuitive, who believes in the twin flames, believes that they lost their chance at love. They lost their chance to be whole. And that's really unfortunate. And the other part of this that can be toxic is that if you look at your past relationships and they haven't worked out, well, if you look at those and you're just like, oh, well, it wasn't my twin flame. It didn't work out because it wasn't my twin flame. That wasn't my other half. Well, that's really convenient because then you don't have to take personal responsibility for why those relationships fell apart. You can just say, well, it wasn't my twin flame. And obviously not all of you are like that, but some of you are. And I know that you're feeling a little convicted on this right now because you're like, oh, that's kind of the excuse that I use. The problem with that is that if you're using that as an excuse or a reason as to why things didn't work out, then not only are you not accepting responsibility for missing the red flags or for any toxicity you added to the relationship, but you're also missing whatever lessons were there that can help you to prevent those sort of tumultuous relationships and situations in the future. So you want to be very mindful of what you're labeling a twin flame. I believe that in every relationship that we're in, we are responsible for ourselves, and we are responsible to some extent on how we make someone else feel. And I know that not even that is a very popular concept. You know, there's all this weird information that we're being told when it comes to relationships and friendships and how to treat other people. We're told that no one can make you feel a certain way, like no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. I hate that saying because it's not true. But then we're also told to be kind and loving and patient and compassionate with other people. And I believe that the latter is absolutely correct. I believe we should absolutely be compassionate and empathic and loving and kind towards other people. But that also implies that how we treat other people matters. And I agree with that 110%. I agree with that. You know what? 110%, 1,000%, 1,000,000%. If we're going to go big, right? If we're going to go over 100%, choose a huge number. Why not? So I hope that as you move forward from this, that you will really consider what it is that you need in a relationship and that you will put the twin flame title aside. If you happen to meet someone who is spectacular and wonderful and you give the relationship time to really grow and see who that other person is, and you're like, this is 100% my twin flame, I feel it, good for you. Good for you. That is fantastic. That is fantastic. Again, my concern are people who know someone for like 2 weeks, 6 weeks, 3 months, and they're throwing that title there, and then they stay in something they shouldn't stay in, or things fall apart and they think, I'm never going to find that again. I'm never going to be whole. I missed my opportunity. I missed my chance. That is toxic, and it's sad, and it's something I don't want you to fall into. So those are my thoughts on that. this is your first time watching one of my videos, whew, wow. You may not know what to think, but I'm still going to invite you to subscribe anyway. So be sure you subscribe, hit that bell icon, and I will see you in the next video.